Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and today we are going for another wander round paradise. Well, we're almost halfway through the January transfer window, and not much has been happening. It's been a quiet one so far. I think it's important to get some bodies out, as well as bringing some new additions to Brendan Rodgers' squad. But I would have expected one or two more than we've already got, although by the time this goes out this evening, we may have announced our first signing of the January transfer window, and we'll come back to that in a second. What about some of the players who have left the building? Nat Phillips went under the radar. There was no big announcement, no fanfare, and he went back to Liverpool. And you've got to ask yourself around the reasons why that didn't work out for Phillips. He came in as an emergency centre-half from the much-lauded EPL, and he barely played. But I think it's as much down to Liam Scales' resurgence than it was about the quality of Nat Phillips. He came in when we really needed the bodies. Turned out we didn't actually need them as much as we thought we did. And what we got at the end of that is Liam Scales, who has really, for me, been the star of this season. He's the guy that, for me, is almost Tony Ralston-esque in Brendan Rodgers' side. And long may that continue. I know that Nawrocki is going to be pushing him for a first-team jersey, but Nat Phillips is away back down to Liverpool. We've also heard that Rocco Vata could be on his way to Italy. That would be a great move for the boy, 18 years of age. He got 4 games under Ange Postecoglou, but he's failed to appear under Brendan Rodgers thus far. And some people will say to me, well, you know, Rodgers sees him every day at training, maybe he's not good enough. And I take that, but I think the other side of that argument is that when you look at the youth development at Celtic, and you look over the last 20 years, how many players have we developed that have gone on to play 100 games for the club? So maybe we are doing things wrongly, or not quite developing the players the way that we should be, because that's another talented player out the door. Ideguchi is away back to Japan, and I think that he's one of very few of the Japanese imports who hasn't managed to make a career for himself at Celtic. Bit of injury problems when he was here in Glasgow, and he goes with our best wishes back to Japan and Vissel Kobe, who are the J1 League champions at this moment in time. And I think also the other interesting one is Kwon to St Mirren, and it looks as though Celtic want to loan more of our fringe players out to fellow Scottish clubs. So with the news that Kwon is going to St Mirren, they are obviously inheriting a £1 million player, and Celtic are getting someone off the books for the time being who wasn't going to play anyway. I always felt it was a bit of a strange signing from the South Korean second tier to bring a midfield player in. And I go back to the point I made about Vata and our youth system that we've got at the moment. Surely we've got a player who could have graduated and been promoted to the first team squad. However, what I will take as a positive from it is that Celtic seem keen to get more of our fringe players out to Scottish clubs. And I hate to say I told you so, but Acsom has been banging on about that for long enough. I think that when you look through the seasons over the last 20 seasons or so, there's always a huge amount of our players out on loan. There's been some success stories, of course, but I think in recent times, the biggest successes have come from players who have been loaned out to fellow Scottish clubs. Liam Scales, the latest example of that, but we had Ryan Christie, of course, and Chris Ayer. And I know that the club captain, Callum McGregor, went down to Notts County and really made a fist of it as well. And we've got the tie-in with Admira Wacker, but I think that in order to acclimatise them to first-team football in the Scottish League, it makes sense to put them out to other Scottish teams. But also, you can damage your challengers. I mean, they're not going to play against Celtic. They might score against Rangers. They might win a penalty, save a penalty against Rangers. So I think it's a good move. And the word is that Adam Montgomery is also going to be going to Motherwell, having been recalled from his loan spell at Fleetwood. So I think that's a good move by Celtic, and it's something that I hope more of our fringe players will take advantage of and get out there and play games and prove whether or not they are able to make it at Celtic. The other one, of course, Mackenzie Carr's going to Queen's Park, and that's a development loan. I think it's a very good loan move. Of course, Queen's Park have just appointed Callum Davidson, and they will be looking to stay in the division, might even creep into the the playoff spots if they continue with the good form after the arrival of the new gaffer as well. So good move by Celtic, and I'm looking for more fringe players to go to other Scottish clubs. We would have all had our own opinions on where Celtic had to strengthen the squad as we moved into the January transfer window. On a personal level, I thought left back was a priority, as well as centre forward, and in particular with regards to the Asian Cup and us losing some bodies. I thought centre forward was definitely a priority. Others have mentioned a goalkeeper. Yeah, I totally get that, but I thought that was maybe a summer move. And the first move we actually make in the transfer window isn't any of these positions, but it's moving into the wings and bringing in Nicolas Kuhn from Rapid Vienna. He spent some time at Bayern Munich and Ajax. And it looks as though he is going to be the first arrival at £3 million coming in and potentially unveiled today. Obviously, we're recording this a wee bit earlier in the day and it'll be going out tonight. So, yeah, we will be welcoming a new winger. What does that mean, though? Because at the moment, we've got 8 wingers before he comes in. And it probably says that we're going to lose a couple, doesn't it? I mean, we've got a few on the rosters of the country for the Asian Cup in Tilio and Yang and Maeda. But there is a fear that we might also lose Lila Bada. And I think that if we do, it would be a massive loss for Celtic, because he's a player that we've seen developing over the last 2.5 seasons. And he's not really had an opportunity to work under Brendan Rodgers for any prolonged period of time. But you've got to look at the scenario that he finds himself in. And if because of the situation in his home country, he is going to be unhappy away from Israel, or if he's going to be unhappy with the political situation over there, then he's not going to perform to the best of his ability. And if that's the case, it may be decided for best for all parties if he moves on. But I do think it would be a big loss to Celtic. He's worth probably 25 goal contributions a season, and we've not really enjoyed it this season. I was looking forward to him coming back in, and I know he played a couple of games before we broke off for the winter break. But yeah, it could signal the end of that player's career. Let us know what you think in the comments section. Is he a guy that we need to be doing everything we can in our power to keep? Or if a player's unhappy for whatever reason, then you've just got to let him fly the nest. So with one winger in the door, where else do we need to strengthen? There's talk that we may be interested in Liverpool's reserve goalie or backup goalie Kelleher. He's a full Ireland international, and at 25 he's not had much first team football, but he could come in and maybe work with Joe Hart for 6 months before Hart moves on or retires. So I could see the merit in bringing a player like that to the club. There's also talk, of course, of a left back. Greg Taylor has come back into form, and he's been praised by Brendan Rodgers for that over the last 4 games or so. But there's one thing for sure, we need a backup in there. We need someone to be pushing Greg Taylor. And it looks as though the interest in Thiago Araujo has cooled a little bit. Estoril saying that they haven't actually received any kind of notification from Celtic, a note of interest or a bid. So we'll need to wait and see if there's other left backs in the mix for Celtic. And of course up top, we have been linked to a number of different forwards. Domestically, Miofsky and Shankland, Kvitsgarden as well from Brøndby, as well as Sidney van Hooijdonk. But Pierre said that move isn't happening. So we'll need to wait and see where else we strengthen. Brendan Rodgers started off saying he needed 4 quality players. That's been cut down to 1 or 2. Not much happening in the way of incomings, and I'm pretty sure many more players will be leaving the building as well. I think the key is, after every transfer window, to come out of the window stronger than you have gone into it. And it remains to be seen if that is going to be the case for Celtic. This is a huge season for Celtic when you think of the pendulum swinging the other direction to Rangers' advantage with the Champions League riches bigger than ever before. Then Celtic need to make sure that we definitely do come out of this window even stronger than we did going into it. And I think that will be at the forefront of Brendan Rodgers' mind, just as it is with you and I, the Celtic fan base. We will be back here at the weekend to play Buckie Thistle, of course, a return to action, and you wonder if there's going to be any new signings in the Celtic team on that day. What else has Acsom been up to? Well, we've announced a few more live events. We're on the road throughout 2024. We're going to be with Martin O'Neill in a couple of weeks' time in Greenock, and that'll be followed up with gigs with Charlie Mulgrew We're going to Oban and we're going up to Inverness as well, and we'll see you there. Really looking forward to getting out and seeing some of the Acsom viewers. So thanks everybody for getting involved. Let us know your thoughts on the transfer window in the comments section, and join us again tomorrow at 12:30 for a Celtic State of Mind.